This book is called A Halloween Scare in New England. New England is where we live. It is a group of states chunked together, and New Hampshire is one of them. We live in New Hampshire. This is written by Eric James and illustrated by Marina Laray. Prepare, if you dare, for a tale full of thrills, the time when New England gave everyone chills. A night filled with sights that are best left unseen. You ready? You sure? This was my Halloween. He looks petrified. That means very scared. The werewolves howled loudly. The moon shone so bright. I stayed in my bedroom, the curtains shut tight. My heart started pounding. My knees felt so weak. But being a brave kid, I just had to peek. There he is. Do you see him peeking out of his window? I pulled back the curtains. My mouth opened wide. An army of monsters had gathered outside. They staggered and stumbled and lurched down the streets with bags full of cookies and candy corn treats. Emerging from sewers and houses and stores came creatures and critters with ravenous roars. If you're ravenous, that means you're really hungry. Then more came along from all over the states. They filled up the streets at a dizzying rate. The side of the bus says New England Tours. And look at the license plate. It says Live Free or Die, New Hampshire. Spooky. Whoops. From Boston and Hartford and Burlington too, a mountain of monsters, the motliest crew. Look at the different types of monsters. A Frankenstein, a vampire. All gathered together for one spooky night to seek out the living and give them a fright. The thunder clapped loudly with terrible booms. The witches dodged lightning and clung to their brooms. The two-headed doggies tried chasing their tails, and banshees let loose with their hideous wails. The vampires hung out on the street in their gangs and grinned just to show off their pearly white fangs. The mummies moaned loudly and swayed side to side, while Frankenstein stomped about town with his bride. Just married in Salem. I like how the vampires are hanging upside down in the tree. The witches came out as it neared witching hour. The Pilgrims waved out from aboard the Mayflower. That's the name of this boat. The students of MIT, Monsters in Training, were chasing the locals, and yes, they were gaining. The locals are people that live locally or nearby. The ogres from Providence hid out of view, then scared little children by shouting out, "Boo!" These ogres were actually really nice guys, but needed the screams to make Boston scream pies instead of Boston cream pies. Boston scream pies. The creepies were crawly, the crazies were crazed, the New Haven zombies had eyes that were glazed. The ogres from Cambridge were ugly as sin, with big bulging noses and warts on their chin. The ghouls danced around but were lacking in soul. The gargoyles could rock and the headless could roll. Although the whole spectacle seemed to spell doom, I foolishly thought I'd be safe in my room. Guess that means he wasn't really safe in his room, was he? But then something happened that made my heart jump. From somewhere below me, I heard a big thump. There's a picture on the wall of Paul Revere. I froze for a moment, as quiet as a mouse. Yes, I could hear noises from inside the house. Oh, goodness. I put on my slippers and pulled on my robe. I shook like a leaf, but I don't think it showed. Then slowly but surely I crept down the stairs, preparing myself for the biggest of scares. My hands trembled wildly. I opened the door. I still shudder now at the horrors I saw. If you shudder, that means you shake and you cringe. The stereo spat out some hideous sounds as dozens of monsters jumped madly around. And here on the wall, there's a New England fall picture. Just like we've been talking about with the fall foliage, leaves changing colors. The sight was horrific. It made my skin crawl. These monsters were having their Halloween ball. This one's shirt says, "I heart Red Sox." It's the big green monster. And right in the middle, one monster loomed tall, the hairiest, scariest monster of all. He turned around and saw me. I fell to my knees. "I'm not very tasty, so don't eat me, please." He beamed ear to ear, that means he smiled really big, and broke free from the huddle, ran over and gave me a big monster cuddle. That's not what I was expecting at all. I don't think the boy expected it either. "At last, we have found you," he said with a smile. "From Portland to Plymouth, we've looked for a while. We came here to give you your wonderful prize." He held up a trophy in front of my eyes. It says, "Best costume in New England." Why is he giving it to the boy? The boy isn't wearing a costume. A prize? And for me? I replied with a grin. But what did I enter? And how did I win? You've won the first prize for the costume you're wearing. It even scares me, and I'm tip-top at scaring. Still a little confused. This isn't a costume. I'm just dressed as me. Exactly, the scariest thing you can be. A small human child with a cute button nose. Your teeth are so shiny. You've only 10 toes. No hair on your face and no horns on your head. The whites of your eyes are not glowing or red. A bone-chilling costume. A horrible sight. A worthy ensemble for Halloween night. So the monsters are scared of human children. I didn't realize. We partied together until the moon set, a Halloween night that I'll never forget. And next year, I won't want to hide in my bed. The monsters won't scare me. I'll scare them instead.